about them, on how you can move across the borders at that moment. And indeed, with the provisions for vaccinations and other protocols that were established by the health professionals, the honorable ministers were able to turn up in Kampala, and they had a very good interaction. A round of applause to that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start in a short while, but Honorable Minister, as you came in, we were watching a review of a documentary on FGM, and with your permission, I beg that we continue and have the documentary screened to the end before we return and officially set off. So documentary, you may want to start again. Thank you.
From actually, they had now started with children. In 2009, Uganda joined other 16 countries in Africa where FGM is practiced to put heads together to see how we put an end to FGM.
We have made sure that we've strengthened the legal policy and accountability frameworks by enacting, working with the government to enact a Female Genital Mutilation Prohibition Act. So this was enacted in 2010, and this provides the environment whereby all activities related to FGM are criminalized, and somebody can be taken to court if they allow their child to have female genital mutilation.
The second was to engage communities in social norm changes. We would move into churches, we campaigned on radio, we went to hospitals, we went to schools, we went to institutions like cultural institutions, and identified stakeholders who would continuously engage the communities by explaining the negative elements of female genital mutilation, looking forward for the abandonment.
We have seen that there has been a reduction in female genital mutilation. If you look at 2011, when the DHS, the Demographic and Health Survey, was taken in 2016, we've seen that there's been a reduction from 1.4% to 0.3% in the prevalence of FGM. And this for us is a great achievement.
The victims are young girls, aged actually they had now started with children, born 3 years or even less, they had started work given on those. Many women are associated with fistula, and others in giving birth, of course they have to struggle with a lot of pain, endure with a lot of pain. Of course, the body ruptures again when they are giving birth. It's like a scar, and every time you touch it, it ruptures. Secondly, the relationship between the man and the wife in their bed becomes a big challenge almost. Every time they interact, it becomes almost forceful. The surgeons, those women who are involved into the cutting, they are also feeling burdened with enforcing or imposing on those people something that has negative effects to them, and that has also occurred to them themselves. They would wish they abandoned it yesterday. Cutting is a no-go area, but how about an alternative?
I think what we have to do for them is to really provide an alternative livelihood, because this has been their livelihood, and they will need other forms of livelihood so that they don't go back to FGM. Community level, we've also registered quite a big success. We have had over 30,000 communities pronouncing publicly and denouncing FGM. And I think a great example is the Sebei chief, Mzee Cameron, who was once a firm believer in FGM and is now a champion of ending FGM.
Since we have been able to move from 1.4 prevalence rate from 2011 when we enacted the law, and in 2016 we were able to achieve results of a lower prevalence of 0.3. I believe that with these new mechanisms, which are friendly and locally developed, would be able to lead us towards abandonment of female genital mutilation.
We know what works. We've done this globally and for years in UNFPA and with UNICEF. So we need to accelerate and we need to scale up. So that is number one. The number two intervention that we have to do is really generate evidence. We have done this, but if you ask me today, how many women have you reached since 2008? We cannot answer this, and we know we've reached many. So documentation, gathering evidence and the data to inform further policy and programming will be critical.
From the national level where you see me here, I am the face of a fight against FGM. We realized that the radio stations they listen to in Sebei and Karamoja part of the areas where FGM is still pronounced, is still dominant, are areas where we don't even have radio stations. So we are working with partners to see if we can establish radio stations in those particular areas so that people can continue to listen to the information, and we shall have specific programs running almost every day. Just like we have health programs, we have educational programs, this dialogue about female genital mutilation will be on a daily basis.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. The message is loud and clear. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, allow me call on all of us to be upstanding for the anthems. And we shall start with the national anthem. Sound, please. Thank you so much. May we take our seats? Honorable Minister, it's a pleasure to have you here on this auspicious occasion as we officially commemorate the International Day of Zero Tolerance to FGM and also officially launch Phase 4 of the joint program on the elimination of female genital mutilation. Here with you are a wide array of guests, both from the national level and at local government level. Several districts are represented here. Districts we work with in ensuring that FGM is eliminated are here with us. We have had an introduction before, but allow me to recognize especially a few of them guests that are here. From the districts, we have the LC5 chairpersons. If you could stand up and wave to the Honorable Minister once again. LC5 chairpersons, there they are. Resident district commissioners, please. If you could wave to the Honorable Minister. There they are. Thank you so much. We also have here with us the religious leaders. Religious leaders, please. There they are. Most welcome. And of course, the cultural leaders. Yes. Very good. Thank you for turning up. Allow me to recognize that here with us from the Parliament of Uganda, we have Honorable Irene Linda, who is representing the Chairperson Gender Committee. You're most welcome, Honorable. From the U.S. Embassy, we have Mr. Skorsky there with you, right there, Human Rights Officer at the Embassy, the U.S. Embassy, and representing the Ambassador of the United States. We also have from the ministry, we have the Chairperson, National Women's Council, Hajat Farida Chiboa, and the Commissioner, Gender and Women Affairs, Dr. Angela Nakafero, right now representing the Permanent Secretary. But we know that FGM is also a huge cultural issue, actually embedded in culture, and we're privileged to have the Assistant Commissioner for Culture Affairs, Mr. Lubega Bakaye, here with us. You're most welcome, sir. We also have from the Gender Department, the Assistant Commissioner, Gender and Women Affairs, Madam Maggie Nakafero. And of course, our very good partners, UNFPA. I know we are going to be joined by the country representative shortly. We also expect to be joined by the UN Resident Coordinator, who will be joining us. UNICEF, we expect to be joined by the country rep or the representative, but also the Honorable Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs, the Honorable Sarah Mateke, will be joining us. For now, allow me delve into the schedule as laid down by inviting the representative of the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to speak to us.
Thank you very much, Frank. Honorable Minister, Honorable Peace Mutuzo Regis, our national champion for ending female genital mutilation in Uganda, Honorable Members of Parliament present, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors and the representatives, the United Nations Resident Coordinator, who is still on her way, she'll be joining us very soon, Madame Susan Ngonji, the representatives of UN agencies. I've seen UNFPA, UNICEF, UNDP, representatives of government ministries, departments and agencies, representatives of district local governments. Especially, we are really excited to see female LOC5 chairpersons. Congratulations, ladies. Representatives of civil society organizations, representatives of faith-based organizations, cultural institutions. You're very key in this advocacy and transformation. We're excited to see you in our midst. Media fraternity, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Angela Nakafero. I'm representing the Permanent Secretary, who is not able to join us because of other national duties, but he would have wanted to be with us, because this is an issue closer to his heart. I welcome you all to this event as we commemorate the International Zero Tolerance Day for female genital mutilation in Uganda. At this event, we shall also launch phase 4 of the UN Joint Program on Elimination of Female Genital Mutilation, 2022-2023. The theme for this year's commemoration, ladies and gentlemen, is partnering with men and boys to transform social norms and gender norms to end female genital mutilation. We all know that female genital mutilation is one of our negative social norms that still prevail, where men and boys have an upper hand in influencing women and girls' decisions. So this theme, ladies and gentlemen, is challenging us to reach out to men and boys to be allies to positive change, including ending female genital mutilation in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, you will note that whereas the prevalence of female genital mutilation is low at the national level at 0.3%, it is still high in communities that are practicing female genital mutilation in Uganda. We've registered tremendous progress towards prevention and response due to the deliberate and collective efforts of all stakeholders, and we celebrate all your support and milestones in this regard. According to the WUBOS report 2022, 95% of women in eastern Uganda currently support the abandonment of female genital mutilation. This is a strong achievement for us in a context where female genital mutilation was almost universally acceptable in eastern Uganda, especially in communities that are practicing female genital mutilation. It's indicating women and girls' willingness to abandon. However, their decisions heavily rely on the influence of men and boys. And I'm glad that this theme this year is really challenging men and boys to take positive and deliberate actions in influencing the practice of female genital mutilation in Uganda. Distinguished guests, in Uganda, this day has been commemorated since it was first adopted at the International Conference on Zero Tolerance to FGM in Addis Ababa in 2023, organized by the International African Committee on Traditional Practices Affecting the Health of Women and Children. The government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Gender, Labour, Social Development, as a national machinery for gender equality and women's empowerment, we've really played a critical role in undertaking quite a number of interventions aimed at prevention and response to female genital mutilation. There are quite a number. I would just highlight a few of these. One of our best is the law on a prohibition of female genital mutilation passed in 2010 and its regulations. It has impacted on the practice. However, it has also changed the dynamics of the practice, which we need to take into context. We've strengthened cross-border surveillance to curb cross-border female genital mutilation, especially between Kenya and Uganda border. Of course, girls and women go to Kenya to perform female genital mutilation, and the effort of this program is to ensure that we are strengthening our collaboration with our neighbors in the effort to eliminate female genital mutilation. A lot of work has been done in terms of engaging communities, engaging religious institutions, engaging cultural institutions, engaging local government leaders to support positive change, and in terms of abandonment of female genital mutilation. Supporting operations of the GBV shelters, especially for the survivors and victims. In Moroto, AMDA already prioritized, because all of us know the prevalence of female genital mutilation is mainly dictated by men and boys. Media advocacy has been key of our work, strengthening partnerships with CSOs and faith-based organizations, implementing livelihood interventions, especially UWEP and Youth Livelihood Program, so that we provide alternatives to female genital mutilation. Undertaking the national strategy on ending child marriage and teenage pregnancy in Uganda, and the campaign is still running. We have a high-level GBV policy dialogue that provides policy guidance on all forms of GBV, including female genital mutilation, ladies and gentlemen. Amidst those milestones, the existing gaps and challenges, and a lot needs to be done. Female genital mutilation is a complex social norm that needs a lot of work, especially in terms of changing people's mindset. And that changing mindset is a task that doesn't happen in one day. And of course, it's also a task that is not even easy to measure. But I know that once we work together, especially under phase 4, and in collaboration with the government program on community mobilization and mindset change, we'll be able to register positive developments in this agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also challenged to celebrate culture, but of course, the position of the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development is we need to celebrate cultures that are positive and protect and celebrate the dignity of all of us. Cultures that are not protecting and celebrating the dignity of women and girls are these cultures that would want to support all of us to abandon and also end forthwith, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to conclude the remarks by saying that we are really appreciative to the support of our development partners that have supported our efforts. We appreciate the support of all stakeholders, and in particular, we appreciate the support of UNFPA and UNICEF for their continued financial and technical support under the UN Joint Program towards ending female genital mutilation in Uganda. We are grateful for the financial support committed for the 4th phase on ending female genital mutilation in Uganda. We continue to count on your continued support of our development partners, ministries, departments, and agencies, civil society organizations, district local governments, cultural institutions, religious institutions, and we are also reaching out to bring the private sector on board. It is my honor to welcome you all to this national celebration, and I hope that as we discuss, as we listen to the presentations, as we listen to the experiences that is going to be shared by other people, we'll leave this room more energized and committed towards ending female genital mutilation in Uganda. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me for God and my country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Angela, for representing the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the country representative for UNFPA, Dr. Mary Otieno. Very good, thank you. Dr. Mary, it's always a pleasure to have you around, and we much appreciate you for all the support you've put into the program to eliminate FGM in Uganda. it's immense. And we can't appreciate you enough, but just know we are very, very appreciative. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also privileged to be joined by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Napore West in Karenga District, the Honorable Lokwang Philip Ilukol, here with us now. Honorable Member of Parliament, you're most welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, allow us move to our next agenda for the day, and that is a statement by the Chief Administrative Officer for Moroto District Local Government. May we please welcome him for this presentation.
Again, I'm called Chelim Alex. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer, Moroto. The chief guest, our minister, His Excellency, the ambassadors, the partners, the representative of the PS, the RDCs, the chairpersons, my colleagues, the cows, the religious leaders, all protocol observed. In Moroto District, FGM is being practiced in the sub-counties of Tapach, Katikekele, that is being occupied by the Tepeth, who are an agricultural society. When the harvest is bountiful, the village elders permit a cutting ceremony in which the girls aged between 10 to 14 undergo the practice of FGM as a rite of passage to womanhood. According to the 2016 Uganda Demographic and Health Survey, less than 1% of Ugandan girls and women undergo FGM. Although the national prevalence may seem low, in the communities where FGM is practiced, either among the Sabinyi in Sabei region and among the Pokot, Tepeth and Kadam in Karamoja, the prevalence is still high. FGM situation in the district of Moroto. In August 2022, last year, 30 girls were mutilated in Nakojen village, Katikekele parish, in Tapach sub-county. Out of the 30 girls, 2 were from Moroto, and 28 were from Loro and Amakuriat in Amudat and Kenya, respectively. FGM survivors put under emergency response. 1 girl was given treatment and other health services from Moroto Regional Referral Hospital, and she was put to the GBV shelter where she stayed for 1 month before she was integrated with her parents. Several assorted items such as sanitary pads, clothes, soap were given during integration with her parents. Activities implemented under FGM with support from UN, UNICEF, and UNFPA joint program, the district implemented mainly the following activities. There was community-to-community outreaches in various villages, in the kraals and other hotspot areas. There was also cross-border dialogues and coordination meetings. There was consensus building and public declaration meetings. There was also FGM across the border. Girls were cut, and those who were rescued across the borders, we had 12 girls, 4 from Uganda and 8 from West Pokot, Kenya, who were mutilated in Alale, Kenya in December 2019. 20 girls from Nangwaliet village in Loro sub-county Amudat were mutilated across the border in Kenya. After the FGM Act of 2010 implementation, the district, with support from UNICEF, carried out sensitizations of the district and sub-county leadership in 2012 on the FGM Act of 2010. Ever since the start of the implementation of the FGM Act, Moroto District has so far arrested and prosecuted 12 perpetrators, 3 FGM cutters, and 12 parents who aided the cutting of the girls in the kraals. The last case was a 46-year-old FGM cutter, Maria Lokeris, a resident of Nakonyen, who mutilated 30 girls, and she was brought to the Chief Magistrate's Court and was handed over a 4-year jail term for performing the same FGM. And with us here, as you are aware, we have the Chief Magistrate who handed over the jail term. Thank you, and we're glad that you are around, Mr. Soyeko. You're most welcome. Why does FGM happen and continue to persist? As we are all aware, FGM is a deeply rooted cultural practice, although the reasons vary from ethnic groups among the Sabini, Tepeth, Pokot, who are from Kapchorwa, Mudat, and Moroto, respectively. And as we all know, again, once a girl has been circumcised, she is deemed ready for marriage regardless of her age. Others say it is preservation of virginity and ensuring fidelity or faithfulness. And others is to do with identification with the cultural heritage, such as name calling, social integration and acceptance as a way to ensure that the girl is ready for marriage. Others, they say it is for hygiene and cleanliness. Others to increase sexual pleasure for the male. In Uganda, FGM is mainly done by the traditional practitioners, often in unhygienic circumstances. FGM is carried out with special knives, scissors, pieces of glass, and even razor blades. FGM is usually carried out on girls, as I had mentioned earlier, below the age of 15. As you are aware, there is the Uganda-Kenya Anti-FGM Coordination Forum, which was created to coordinate and report FGM and child marriages across the borders between Uganda and Kenya, especially West Pokot County, between the Tepeth, the Pokot of Amudat, and the Pokot of Kenya. This is a very vibrant forum that has helped in the coordination of implementation of the fight against FGM. We also have girls who have been rescued as a result of this coordination. We had 6 girls from Namosing village in Loro sub-county were rescued from Wayakol and Lomriabul villages in Sasak and Amakuriat sub-location. This was reported by an elder from Katuri village. At the time of the rescue, each girl had a brand new razor blade to be used for cutting. A reference also made to police reef number 13/07/2020. On July 9, 2020, the Deputy County Commissioner North Pokot County in Kenya and his team handed over the girls to a Muda team, which later took the girls to Kalas Girls Primary School for rehabilitation. We also have FGM hotspot areas, and these have been identified as Nasal, Kasitot, Kawumai, and Wayapong villages in North Pokot in Kenya. We also have Natumukale, Nakonyen, and Narengea in Uganda. What are the emerging FGM issues? FGM survivors now put on their new unique identity that is only known to themselves and close families and village members. FGM is now done during the grazing of the animals, and the survivors now go to the nearby clinics, drug shops, to buy tablets that they assume it cures the wounds. FGM is well done during public ceremonies like Christmas and New Year celebrations. It is also done in the cultural traditional dances known as Lopei Krep in Pokot and Naleo. It is also carried out secretly at family level through invitation of the cutter to perform the practice to the girl at the home. Lessons learned so far: the existence of community structures such as parasocial workers at the village levels has helped in reporting cases of FGM and early childhood marriages. There is collaboration among stakeholders like the police, the judiciary, and local government staff that are supported in apprehending perpetrators and concluding cases in court in a timely manner. The cross-border coordination groups has greatly supported in quick information sharing on FGM practices and mapping out the hotspot areas. The existence of cross-border coordination groups has greatly supported in quick information sharing on FGM practices. And the existence of the strong surveillance system has also helped in tracking the changes that have come up as a result of the new trends of FGM practices and coping up with the identity dress codes by the girls prepared to undergo the practice and those that have already been cut. Challenges we face in trying to eliminate FGM. In 2010, the FGM Act, which prohibits FGM and makes it a crime, was passed. However, implementation of this and related laws is poor as a result of challenges that are faced at the police and also lack of willingness of the communities to report and provide evidence on new FGM cases. The practice is still done underground in hidden places such as in caves, forests, bushes, gardens, or across national boundaries, and during delivery by traditional birth attendants. It is also closely guarded by the community and kept highly secretive. There is also inadequate coordination from some of the stakeholders. Also, we have the harsh terrain and poor road network. There is poor reporting by the community members. The community structures, like the parasocial workers, are regarded by the communities as spies in the community and betrayers of their identity. Recommendations: we should ensure we keep our girls in school in order to empower them, and make their own decisions. We should engage all groups within the communities, including traditional religious leaders, the girls themselves, women and men, in discussion of the negative consequences of FGM, the myths and conceptions, in order to promote abandonment of the practice. We should also promote public pronouncements on FGM abandonment by local cultural, religious, and political leaders, and commitment to end the practice. We should build and promote networks of champions against FGM to encourage other community members to abandon the practice. We should promote alternative rites of passage that reinforce traditional positive values of culture without the element of FGM. We should strengthen enforcement of the existing legislation and policies against the practice, including the Prohibition of FGM Act 2020. Thank you for listening to me, and I think that's the end of my statement. Thank you very much.
Members, another round of applause to the COW, the Chief Administrative Officer for Moroto District Local Government, for giving us an insight into the dynamics of FGM in that area. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming here with us now the Ambassador of Sweden to Uganda, Her Excellency Maria Hackinson. You're most welcome, Your Excellency, and would like to request that you convey our appreciation to Sweden, the government of Sweden, for all the support they have extended to our country, Uganda, in terms of the program on eliminating female genital mutilation. We appreciate you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, up next, we're going to be listening to a representative of the religious leaders, and therefore, join me in welcoming now Reverend Esther Mwandaula Sabiti, who is representing the religious leaders. A round of applause.
Protocol observed, and praise the Lord to everyone. Today, February 8th, 2023, we join the government of Uganda and the rest of the world to commemorate the International Day of Zero Tolerance for FGM under the theme, Partnering with Men and Boys to Transform Social and Gender Norms to End Female Genital Mutilation. This day gives us an opportunity to pause and reflect on the lives of the young people, especially the girl child, whose God-given potential is never unleashed due to this harmful practice. We therefore take this day to raise awareness and recommit to a faithful and dedicated response to ending FGM in Uganda and across borders. In December 2022, the IRC, with support from UNFPA, convened a religious leaders meeting to further explore better strategies to address the challenges of FGM in our communities. This culminated in expression of their sympathy and apology to the men and girls. And I want to ask all men and boys in this room to stand up while the women and girls remain seated as the men takes us on a prayer. And I want to welcome Mr. Soyoko Emi to take us through this prayer. So men can stand.
Our humble affirmation and declaration to you here present is as follows. We, the men, have seen and heard the pain that our sisters have gone through. We don't care about your pain. However, we are happy to take advantage of your pain. We have failed in being true brothers to you. Please forgive us, the men. We ask for your forgiveness from the bottom of our hearts, and please find room to forgive us.